Welcome my friends, it's patch day here in Marvel Snap. Huge changes coming to Shuri, to Leader. We've got some of the most dominant names that we see in the meta. Leech, Lockjaw, Chavez, cards that you see all the time, or at least used to see all the time in the case of Leader, are getting changed here. Where is the meta going to stand after all of this? We're going to break it all down. But first, we have to address Kitty Pryde. She got an announcement just yesterday. They have changed her ability a little bit. She is releasing next month for free for everyone. If you purchased her with tokens, you're going to receive a consolation prize of 8,000 tokens to be able to consolidate you. I will be very consoled with those 8k tokens, I have to say. Leave it to second dinner. They don't always get it right on the first try. Or, you know, with the balance changes that we've seen to Thanos or to some of these other cards, the second try, but eventually they get there. And I'm very excited to be seeing Kitty Pryde releasing. The slate of cards for next month is insane. High Evolutionary, maybe the most anticipated card of all time. And then Kitty Pryde dropping for free is an enormous energy boost. I am so excited for what next month is going to look like. So much to be able to play around with and test. Her new ability, she's still going to have the same stat line, 1-0. When this returns to your hand, +2 power, returns at the start of each turn. So now it is a mandatory recall, whereas before it was a choice. The option of choosing during the planning phase was what was breaking the game. So here she is going to return before you draw your card. So the turn slide will update, the new location will reveal, she will return, and then you will attempt to draw a card. If she fills up your hand, you will not be able to draw. She's going to be able to continue to generate a lot of power here. As long as they fix the bug where she will remain free if she gets tagged with Beast, and now with this new ability, Beast and Falcon returning her will give her the power buff, whereas before she was only gaining the power buff when you chose to return her. I think she is looking insane, incredibly powerful. It does mean that it can get a little bit dicey on the final turn if she returns in a situation where you really rather would have had her stick to the board, but I mean, if you hit her with Beast and she's free anyway, which is the optimal play pattern, you're going to be able to combo whatever you wanted on that final turn anyway. Incredibly excited for Kitty Pryde. She is going to be a smash success. I was recommending her as a buy in Series 5 for the full tokens with the bugs. And now she's coming out for free for everybody. Pick up Bounce, guys. Bounce is going to be hot, hot, hot. And now Shuri. Ooh, drawing so much ire from the community. She has been dominant for far too long. The developers now taking a route for changing her that I think was actually a very popular route for what I saw people suggesting. Alterations for Shuri. Update 4-2 stat line on reveal. If you play your next card here, meaning to her location, double its power. We'll have to check out the nuance of quote-unquote here what happens if she moves, but that's a very niche case. This is an enormous nerf for the Shuri deck. It's an enormous hit to the consolidation, the power that Cosmo had, able to play Shuri off to the side and then protect whatever you doubled against anything by the Cosmo. Now she's going to be very susceptible to counterplay. She can still try and protect it behind the armor, but Valkyrie is now Series 3 because of the series drop. That's going to smash her. The Shadow King, who just got a sizable buff as of the last patch, not in Series 3, not as accessible, but still is going to be able to just revert the Shuri. I think the Shuri 0 deck is really going to struggle now. We're going to have to see where it adapts because Shuri herself still has tremendous potential as a card. And honestly, it could be that if she falls back a little bit in the meta, fewer decks are going to be running the counters to Shuri, and then she'll still be able to find success just in a smaller percentage of play because less people are going to be teching the counters. But I think Valkyrie is going to be absolutely everywhere, and it is going to be leveling the Shuri decks. Leech. Oh, a change to Leech, and one that I had not really seen suggested, but one that I really appreciate. 5-3 stat line at the start of turn 6. Remove all abilities from cards in your opponent's hand. The hand did not make it into my slide. Remove the abilities from the cards in the opponent's hands, but only on turn 6. The early Leech is gone. That early Lockjaw cycle that then smacked you, that's gone. The option for the opponent to be able to play Leech to Lockjaw and then trade the body with a more powerful card, also gone. It is only going to be able to trigger if it is on the board. It is not ongoing though, which is a weird middle state of it. It feels like it should be ongoing. I don't know, maybe not, because it's triggering at a specific point in time. I guess we can debate this down in the comments. I'm very happy for this change. Having to have Leech's weak 3 power body stick to the board and then only coming on turn 6, you're able to see it happen. You're able to plan just a little bit. It still has potent control. to be sure. His job of disabling decks that are trying to build combos into that final turn with the abilities of their cards, that is still fulfilled, but now he's not nearly as oppressive as he was before with the ramp, with the Lockjaw, and the freedom to be able to cycle him away and trade his weak body. That was the balancing factor of the card, playing a low tempo play with the Leech's body with something more powerful. So I'm going to be interested to see where he settles. I am still playing him. But he's not going to be nearly as annoying as he was. Up next, we've got Lockjaw. Oh, Lockjaw. I wanted Lockjaw to be able to remain as he was, but the developers were seeing that he was creating some problematic situations. He was really dominant in Thanos, and he's still honestly very dominant alongside Thor and the on-reveal synergy suite of cards. So they're toning him down a little bit. It's not a major change. 3-2, after you play a card here, swap it with a card in your deck once per turn. So you can no longer just vomit all the cards to Lockjaw at once, be able to see what happens, and then say Space Stone, move the Lockjaw to a new location. Or you're more dependent on setting him up early in the game. You're not able to play him on turn 6 with a bunch of other cards and be able to completely surprise the opponent, come out of nowhere with all the trading that could be happening from your cheap cards into your powerful cards from the deck. So he's going to have to be set up early, and then you have to piecemeal feed Lockjaw throughout the rest of the game to be able to bring it up. That is still often a play pattern that people were following, so I think Lockjaw and Thanos are still going to be quite happy working together, and also Thor and Lockjaw are going to be quite happy working together. They just lose a little bit of flexibility and a little bit of shock power value coming from the Lockjaw here. Now we have a suite of changes. America Chavez and Jubilee. These cards have been altered. Jubilee is actually reverted back to her original form. She's going to add the top card of your deck to this location. Chavez is getting changed. It used to be that because when the deck would just be shuffled, and she was not allowed to be drawn until turn 6. So if the game was attempting to draw Chavez, it would just put her beneath the next card, and then it would give you the top card. And so Chavez had a very high likelihood of being on top. This was problematic working with Jubilee because it was so reliable for Jubilee to be able to pull the Chavez. So then they changed Jubilee to be a random card. Now they're just changing Chavez so that she always sits on the bottom of the deck. Jubilee goes back to pulling from the top of the deck because they're developing this whole suite of cards that interact with the top of the deck. We have Howard the Duck coming out next month that when you tap him, you're going to be able to see what the top card on your deck is, and the synergy with Jubilee is going to be amazing. If we're able to get a little bit more knowledge as to what Jubilee is going to pull, it's going to be so cool. And then the Iron Lad is able, when he is played, to gain the text box. He changes his ability to whatever the ability is of the card that was on top of your deck. Heck, you could even chain Iron Lad into Jubilee, and Jubilee would pull the next thing. And so now this like on top of the deck kind of synergy, it seems really interesting to me. It seems like it'll be really fun to be able to play around. I would love to see even more cards come to develop. Also, crazy thing, I heard that Iron Lad is not a Iron Man variant. It is a variant of Kang the Conqueror in like a spin-off universe. Anyway, Lore Masters, you could have a field day with that one down in the chat. He looks like Iron Man. He sounds like Iron Man. Why is he not just Iron Man? Obviously, the dream pairing is for Iron Lad to be able to grab onto Iron Man. Maybe that's the question in the comments. What is the single best card for Iron Lad to be able to grab? We're going to have to find out. I am so excited for the cards releasing next month. Kitty Pryde, Howard the Duck, Iron Lad, High Evolutionary, Nebula. Nebula's like the least exciting one. She's the Battle Pass card, and I'm still very excited to be playing with her. Overall, the changes to Chavez and Jubilee, I'm going to have to see where I feel about these because I had been running Chavez and Jubilee in my ramp deck, and now it's impossible for Jubilee to pull the Chavez, unless, obviously, Jubilee is pulling the very last card from the deck, but the situation where that happens is incredibly rare. I really liked having Chavez there as an option for Jubilee to be able to pull, but now when you have higher consistency of knowing that Jubilee is going to pull something else, there's some interesting play in there, and I can't wait to see how things really drop out from these. I don't see these as dramatic changes. If you were running these cards, still run these cards in all the same decks. Finally, Leader. Maybe the most hated face in Snap. I mean, Leech and Shuri were really trying there to take the title away from them, but now the king is back, baby. The king is back in ramp. 6-2 on reveal, copy the enemy card or cards with the highest power played this turn, but on your side. Oh, the glorious return. Leader Sandman. They only play one card. You take that card, you Odin, you take the next card that they play. I'm in the ramp situation here. It's so good. Ramp is going to be able to preserve Leader and Arrow in all of their most toxic states. I love this. The free-to-play players' golden ticket to being able to climb was Leader before, so I'm happy to see him coming back around. No longer does he have that brilliant 6-7 stat line, but when he's able to get this on reveal power spike, it's incredible. And it's positioning Sandman, especially with the Leech nerf, as the premier 5-drop control card for the ramp deck. It feels like you really have to be shooting for getting Sandman on the board and then cycling into these other powerful cards. There's going to be some stiff competition as to what ramp is trying to include with how powerful all of these different options are. Man, I'm going to be doing a video deck guide on those very soon, very soon. Huge omission is the Galactus. The balance patch changes always end up running about a month behind, and Galactus has had a huge surge in different pockets in the meta very recently. Disgustingly. Galactus is probably my least favorite deck to play against because it's such a binary question. Either you have the control to be able to stuff the Galactus and you stuff them, or you don't and then they dominate you. And it's not that interesting. I don't think it's a fun card to play against. The battle can rage back and forth as to whether or not it's really a good deck, but it's not fun. Most people don't even like playing it because it's so rote. And I don't think I know anybody who enjoys playing against it. Now, it does stand that it is very susceptible to specific kinds of control. So if we enter a meta state where Galactus is taking up a large percentage of the meta share, then honestly, you'll be able to climb just off feeding from Galactus if you're teching in the Daredevil to be able to see where he's going, and then you bring in Professor X, you bring in Spider-Man, you bring in Debris, you bring in Polaris, you bring in Goblins, etc., etc. Anything that's going to be able to prevent his ability from going off or lock the location down with a card that is a higher power than the Galactus. That could be showing through the value of the nerf of 1 point to his ability, or to his body, I should say, that they introduced a while ago, because now the Spider-Man does give you the win. The Professor X does give you the win. So these kind of situations, he can be so heavily controlled. Maybe if you have flex slots open in your deck, start slotting in stuff to be able to punish the Galactus players, keep them out of the meta. Make it nicer for everybody else. Give us space to breathe. So there are all of our changes. You guys are going to have to let me know what you think of the changes down in the comments below. Are there any big misses that you feel? Are there any other cards that should have been here on the omissions? Are you happy with the changes that happened? I don't think they fully murdered any cards. I like that Shuri still has a fighting chance, that she still has a really high power potential, rather than getting treated like Magic or Nakia, who really got hit hard and just stayed down for the entire time. I know a lot of people have invested heavily in the Shuri, and now she's just dropping down into Series 3 to be even more accessible to everyone. So here, I'm glad that she still has potential of having a good power spike for people that want to be able to build a deck that's revolving around her. What that deck will exactly look like, I think it'll look a little bit different than it has in the past, but we'll see where things settle. Stay tuned to the channel. We're going to have video guides on how to be able to incorporate all of the cards that have recently dropped, all of the cards that have recently been changed. We got a lot to work on here at the channel, so stay tuned. I'm excited for what is to come. Till next time, thank you guys for watching. Keep on snapping.